As I drive my 97 E-Class, I'm thinking to myself, these old European cars, something about them that I really like. Something about wanting to fix them, wanting to own them, wanting to drive them. Down to all the cars I own. The cars that I own, well, the majority of them are European. Unless I'm selling it, it's likely to be a European car. And they all tend to be cars that I had some sort of link with either growing up or something that I sat in a motor show at some point. After all, Mercedes-Benz has always had that link with my grandpa's 84 380 SE and all the German touring car championships I used to watch, all the old DTM videos from 91, 92 and 93. After all, the ASR system on this car was developed in the DTM in 1993. And while the 210 was a car that I did sit in the motor show quite a few times when I was a little kid, it was also more than that, because I used to see these a lot where I went to school. People had them, people's parents had them, and it was a car that I have a soft spot for. I had a lot of these as toys as well. I had 2 W210 Matchbox cars and a couple of much bigger Anso W210 wagons I used to play with as a kid. And now I've got the real thing. The BMWs, well, that's pretty easy to see where they come from. They come from the fact that my parents both had BMWs, and I had a period where I didn't like them because everyone I hated had them. But fundamentally, I wanted a car like my parents' old cars. And plenty of people are like that. They want their parents' old cars, Holdens and Fords. A lot of people have that. Many cars have, if your parents had it, there's a reasonable chance you're going to have a soft spot for it. But some people hate their parents' cars. Some people's parents buy really bad cars. Now, it's not to say that my family had cars I always loved. My other grandfather had an ED Ford Falcon that I never loved. I loved his later BF, but I didn't really love the ED. And that's sort of what got me into the European cars at the time. The Audi, well, that's also German touring cars, British touring cars. That's, again, all the videos I used to watch, DTM, BTCC, that's what drew me to wanting an Audi. And again, I sat in that car in the motor show, even though there weren't as many motor shows for the B8A4. I did also sit in the E46 quite a bit. But the cars that I'm buying now, what's the allure to the projects? What drew me to those cars especially? Well, it's the same sort of thing. They're all cars that I sat in at a motor show at some point. Something that we don't have anymore because manufacturers thought it's too expensive and extravagant, and also they obviously didn't sell enough cars of it. And they didn't like people sitting in cars all the time. They also didn't like the fact that if you had a manual, people would change gears without putting their foot down on the clutch. Now, that's something, be that as it may, not having those things means people aren't going to be drawn into those cars. Which means their love affair with cars is going to be less. They're trying to make it, manufacturers are trying to make the car almost like it's a white good. It has no character, it has no soul, it has no passion. You're not going to have the most joyful of times there. So, if you look at the list of projects, alright, Nick Serena aside, they're all cars that at some point were at a motor show that I would have gone to and sat in. And yes, I sat in everything. I was one of those little shits that would sit in every single thing I could get my hands on. So yes, I did sit in Hyundai Getzes and Micras and Mitsubishi Lancer wagons and Mazda 121s and all the other things that were at the bottom end of the market as well. So, yeah. Not having that bond means that connection to some of the later cars isn't there. Oh yeah, I did go to the Singapore Motor Show back in 2016. I have some connection to those cars, but not the same connection to a whole bunch of other cars between 1999 and 2011. I have a relatively strong connection to many of those cars because I know what they fundamentally were because I sat in them all those years ago, and yes, my memory does go back that far. that's what's missing nowadays. We don't have times where you can bring anyone to a place to show them a car, or sit in it and feel it, smell it, handle it, touch it. We don't have that anymore. And we're all the worse for it, I think. Because if we had those things, people would be a lot more interested in these cars, and they'd be a lot closer to them. Yes, we have electric cars, but maybe you should show them to people and actually get them to sit in them all in the same area and get them to look at it. Maybe display them so people can at least feel them, smell them, touch them. I mean, you could get some 5-year-old kid that would love to do those things, love to work on them, or love to be an engineer because of it. But taking those things away takes away that bond we have with cars. And it means people have to go find it out. And that's why I think we should have a motor show. I think we should have the Melbourne International Motor Show again. They need to show their cars again. Because if they don't, well, no one's really going to be interested in them. Yes, you can advertise all you want with influencers and all that, but they're not physically there. People aren't going to be able to look, feel, smell and touch them. It's going to make it a lot harder for people to develop a love and a bond for them later on. They're just going to want to dispose of them. To me, all the cars that I loved from that period of time, all the ones I felt, all the ones I sat in, doesn't matter whether I hated or liked them, I have that connection to them. And when I'm coming to save them now, all those years later, I feel that. I want to be able to bring them back to what they were when I first saw them. And that's why I like doing what I like doing with these things.